The text came just as Caleb reached for his boutonniere. Check the seating chart. Now to no name. No explanation. Just 5 words that he stood frozen in the garden suite, one foot already angled toward the exit. The late afternoon sun spilled through the gauze curtains, bathing everything in gold. Outside, guests in pastel linen and chiffon drifted toward the ceremony lawn, sipping Prosecco and complimenting the blooms that he glanced out the window and saw her. Sabine, silver dress, impeccably styled hair, lips curved into a smile that didn't quite touch her eyes. She laughed with someone, fingers fluttering around a champagne flute, then leaned close to whisper something. The person beside her frowned. Caleb exhaled slowly, the kind of breath you take when you know the game is about to shift. He hadn't trusted her from the start. Sabine had worn tolerance like a pair of designer sunglasses, polished, expensive, and ultimately opaque. Never overt. Just enough veiled comments and chilly pauses to let him know exactly where she stood. And now, someone had just told him to check the seating chart that he moved through the garden gate, past the trellises woven with white jasmine. A photographer asked him to pause for a photo, but he waved gently and kept walking. His pace was calm, but every step was laced with tension. Caleb had been here before, not in a tux, not with wedding bells chiming in the distance, but in rooms where he didn't belong, in circles that expected him to shrink. He had never shrunk. Near the tent, the planner stood fidgeting with his tablet, sweat darkening his collar. Caleb approached, voice low and even. "Hey, quick question. The seating arrangement. Can I take a look?" The planner blinked, startled. "Of course, Mr. Fields. Is something wrong?" "Not yet." He moved toward the gold easel where the chart stood, elegant and pristine. Ivory cardstock with calligraphy in pale gold ink. Beautiful. Until you look closer. Row by row, names were wrong. His mother moved from front row to somewhere in the back corner. Elise's cousin, whom she hadn't seen in 5 years, now in the bridal party section. Caleb's goddaughter? Omitted entirely. His jaw tightened, but he knew Elise hadn't approved this. Every part of the seating had been carefully chosen. Thoughtful. Intentional. This was sabotage. "Who updated this?" he asked, not turning. The planner hesitated. There was a last-minute change. Miss Sabine said she was handling updates on behalf of the bride. Did the bride confirm? Another pause. No, she was in hair and makeup. I didn't want to interrupt. You should have. The planner's shoulders sank. "I'm sorry, sir." Caleb didn't answer. His focus had already shifted. Across the lawn, Sabine stood like a queen at court, receiving congratulations. She caught his eye, and for a heartbeat, something flickered behind her gaze. Not fear, not surprise, satisfaction. And that was when he knew she'd meant for him to see this. She wanted him angry. She wanted him to make a scene, to explode, to confirm every stereotype she secretly believed about him. It was a trap, dressed in roses and violin music. Caleb smiled that IT wasn't warm. It wasn't polite, that IT was the kind of smile that came from someone who had been underestimated one too many times. He turned on his heel and headed back toward the house. Not to storm, not to accuse, but to act. Because if Sabine thought she was the smartest person in the room, she'd just forgotten one thing. This wasn't her wedding. This was his, inside the villa. Elise stood near a full-length mirror, veil cascading down her shoulders, hands nervously smoothing the front of her dress. When she saw him, her eyes widened. "Caleb, what's wrong?" He took her hand, held it for a long beat, and said, gently, "There's something I need to show you." She blinked, confused. "Now? Is it about Sabine?" he said, "and what she's been doing? I don't want to bring it up, but I think it's time." And as Elise's face slowly shifted from confusion to realization, the string quartet outside paused, then restarted. But this time, it wasn't the song they had chosen. It was a loud, jarring pop anthem, upbeat, chaotic, utterly wrong for the moment. Elise flinched. "What the hell?" Caleb's voice was calm, but his eyes burned. "She's been rewriting the whole day behind your back." And at that moment, the door burst open. Sabine stepped in, all poise and gloss, like nothing was wrong. "Elise," she said sweetly, "you're not dressed yet? Everyone's waiting." Caleb didn't move. Elise didn't blink. and the silence between the three of them felt like the stillness before a match hits oil. For a moment, time held its breath. Sabine stood in the doorway like a statue carved from ambition and pearls. Her silver gown shimmered in the warm light, every strand of hair immaculately in place. But her eyes, those careful, composed eyes, betrayed a flicker of something sharp. Across the room, Elise's fingers tightened around Caleb's. Her veil trembled slightly as if catching the tension in the air. "Sabine," she said, voice strained, "what did you do?" Sabine's lips parted into a gentle smile. It was the kind of smile polished in mirrors and perfected in social circles where honesty was optional. "I don't know what you mean," she replied lightly, almost amused. Caleb moved, slow and steady. He stepped past Sabine, retrieved a tablet from the vanity, and pulled up a screen. "Let's start here," he said, tapping twice. "The seating chart you updated." He turned the screen toward Elise. Names were misaligned. Familiar ones missing. His mother, tucked away in the back corner. Maya, Elise's oldest friend, erased completely. Elise's eyes scanned the list, her expression turning from confusion to disbelief, then pain. "I didn't approve any of this," she said, voice barely audible. "No," Caleb replied softly. "But someone pretended they had the right." Sabine crossed her arms, the smile thinning. "Honestly, this is ridiculous. Do you really think Elise's grandmother's memorial bouquet?" Caleb cut in. "Gone. The arch we chose replaced." The music, Sabine's face twitched, but her tone remained smooth. "I was correcting oversights. Helping. Elise echoed. "By erasing the people I love? The details I picked with meaning." Sabine straightened, mask cracking. "You were blinded, Elise. Everything was tilting too far in his favor. I was protecting you. I was making sure this didn't become someone else's stage." Elise recoiled as if struck. "This isn't a stage, Sabine. It's my wedding. Our wedding." Sabine's voice sharpened. "And I wasn't about to let you throw your life away for some." She stopped herself, but the air tightened. Caleb's expression didn't change, but Elise saw it. The subtle pull in his jaw, the deepening calm that always came before his fire. "Say it," Elise whispered. "Finish your sentence." Sabine glanced away. "You're making this ugly." "No," Caleb said quietly. "We're just finally seeing it." There was a stillness then, long, raw, and sacred. And then Elise did something unexpected. She laughed, not bitterly, not mockingly. It was soft, clear, cutting. "Do you know what this reminds me of?" she said, her gaze steady on Sabine. "When I was 8, and you told me not to invite Rosa to my birthday party because she wouldn't fit in. Or when I want to wear my curls natural for senior pictures, and you booked me a blowout without asking." Sabine's arms dropped to her sides. "That was different." "No," Elise said. "It was exactly the same." Caleb watched her with something like awe. This woman who was stepping out of the shadow of a lifetime. "I've spent years letting you rewrite the story," Elise continued. "Little edits, little cuts, always just enough to make me doubt myself. But today, you tried to erase the people who made me who I am. You tried to silence the love that saved me." Sabine blinked, unsteady now. "I was trying to—" "No," Elise said firmly. "You were trying to keep control. But you lost it. Not because I stopped loving you, but because I finally started loving myself more." She turned to Caleb. Her voice softened. "Put everything back. The seating, the bouquet, the music. I want this day to look like us." He nodded, a quiet pride behind his eyes. "Consider it done." He stepped out without a word to Sabine. Elise turned back to the mirror, reached up, fixed her veil. Her reflection stared back. Not the unsure girl Sabine used to manipulate, but a woman who had reclaimed her power. Sabine didn't move. "You're choosing him over your family?" she said finally, voice tight. "I'm choosing truth," Elise replied. "And if you can't be part of that, you're welcome to leave." Sabine opened her mouth, but Elise didn't wait. "Close the door on your way out." The latch clicked behind her. Outside, the golden hour had arrived, soft and forgiving, as if the sky itself was blessing the moment. Guests shifted in their seats, murmuring over the delay, but unaware that a reckoning had unfolded behind villa walls. And then, the right music began to play, slow, intentional. full of grace. Caleb reappeared, his mother's arm hooked in his, Maya walking ahead with the bouquet Elise had chosen. The arch stood tall again, wrapped in jasmine and truth. The seating chart restored. The hush over the crowd turned to smiles. And then Elise stepped into view. There was a breath, collective, reverent, as she crossed the lawn. Not just a bride, not just beautiful, transformed. She met Caleb at the altar, slipped her hand into his, and looked into the face of the man who had chosen dignity over drama, patience over pride. "Ready?" he asked. More than ever. They turned toward the officiant, two silhouettes against the setting sun. Behind them, near the back, Sabine sat still. Alone, not banished, but no longer unseen. And that, perhaps, was the true undoing.